Hello, I'm just going to do a review on the Jandao Chace compound crossbow. It's 175 pounds draw weight. It's the first time I've done a review, so hopefully it won't be too bad, but we'll see how it goes. Bought this crossbow about a month ago. Cost me 250 UK pounds. I've got a few accessories to go with it as well, which I'll show you a little bit later, but first of all I'll just go through the basics with the crossbow. But before I start, I will say that this is the first one I've owned, so I'm no expert by any means on crossbows. I did spend a lot of time researching before I bought it, decided on this particular model, not sure whether I've made the right decision, and I'll explain that as I go through the video. Just to quickly go through the bits and bobs on it, the front stirrup, I find that really very good. It's very solid. Very well made. Moving on to the actual bow itself, cables and strings I know absolutely nothing about, so I can't really say, although I've put quite a few bolts through it and they seem to be absolutely fine at the moment. The crossbow itself comes with open sights. That's something that you don't find written down anywhere when you're reading the description, but it actually comes in the box. And just to highlight that, there's a rear sight there, obviously goes on the end on the Piccadilly rail, but pretty good, although the manufacturing of the rear sight, I don't know whether you'll be able to see this, leaves a little bit to be desired. It's quite rough, but still very effective, no problems at all. Moving along, the package comes with scope, which has got gradients for different ranges, something that I've used slightly but not very much. Not sure whether that's good or not, although it seems okay. And then we've got the trigger, which I think is pretty good, although there are some discrepancies with the way it operates at different times. And then you've got the thumb hold stock, which actually, the stock itself I think is absolutely fabulous. It feels really good. It just feels right in the hands when you're holding it. Looking at the other side, I've just slid the open sight on the rear so you can actually see it in situ, and if I zoom in on the safety button, which is just there, I've taken the sticker off because as I was using the crossbow it was coming off anyway and it was getting in the way. I've got real issues with the safety on it, which I'll explain later, but that's just basically an overview of the crossbow. Like I say, it's very, I don't know, it's very tactile to touch. It's a nice crossbow. I like it in many ways and don't like it in other ways. One thing I would say is that the instructions that come with the crossbow are pretty abysmal. They're not very good at all, and when I was actually assembling the crossbow I couldn't figure out what to do with the cables. Now I don't know whether you can see that, but each cable goes through a little guide that slides backwards and forwards in that slot, and on the instructions it was quite vague as to what you were supposed to do with them, but after calling the suppliers, they told me what to do, and also looking through other manufacturers' instructions I managed to suss out exactly what to do with that. So that's quite confusing when you actually get the crossbow to actually assemble it. Assembly was reasonably simple. I wouldn't say it was easy, but at the same time, you know, anybody with a reasonable knowledge would be fine assembling it, no problems at all. I'm just going to go through cocking the crossbow. I'm going to be using a rope cocking aid. I bought this from Merlin Archery Supplies, or Merlin Archery, which is a UK company. It only cost about £3.50, something ridiculous compared to some of the other ones, which are in the region of £14 to £20, which seems ridiculous for a piece of stone and a couple of handles, but there you go. It's fairly easy to cock with a rope cocking device. You can cock it by hand. In fact, I shall release it and show you that as well. I'll just go through pulling it by hand. I'm a reasonably big guy, you know, it's not too difficult, but at the same time it does take a fair bit of effort. One of the points I'd like to make is that the safety, when I first got the crossbow, every time I cocked it, it was actually pulling the rope cocking device was catching the safety button and pulling it back so that it wouldn't actually engage, and I couldn't cock it. What I was trying to do was actually pull the the two hooks up the sides to keep them level, so I'd get a nice straight pull on the string. And I found that, I reckon about 99% of the time now when I do it, it doesn't actually engage the safety device. But there is a problem because it overhangs about 2 or 3 millimeters, and when you pull up with your rope cocking device, you know, it regularly catches that safety button there. So that's a slight problem, although I seem to have overcome that now, and it's not so much as a problem as it was when I first got it. But let's go on to the problem that I've got, why I think there's a real issue with this bow. I'll try now to demonstrate the problem that I've got with the way that the crossbow is designed. I'll put one of the Jandao bolts on and slide it along the rail. When it reaches the scope rail there, it pushes the fletches down on the bolt. And at the moment that is still firmly on the rail, but on occasion you'll push the bolt back and it will actually lift. It will lift it up off the rail very slightly, and it's because this is pinning the fletches down and putting pressure on the rear of the bolt as it's pushed up against the string. Now to me, it's designed wrongly. This should be ground out so that you've got like this area is clear and not actually full of aluminium. I'm pretty sure that it is just aluminium off the scope rail, so it should be fixable, but it's whether I'm prepared to actually fix it when I've spent £250 on a crossbow. I can demonstrate it a little bit better with this other bolt, which is a carbon one, and unfortunately it's very slightly thicker than the other one, but you'll see exactly what happens as you slide it in. It pushes down on the rear through the fletches and lifts the bolt up off the rail, and I really do think that's a problem. I mean, I might be wrong, but even though I've never had a crossbow before and I'm no expert, it just seems to be sort of too inaccurate. I've been shooting it from a bench, and there's another video I've made when I first got the crossbow with me shooting it, but I don't know, it might just be me, and you know, people might be turning around to me and saying that my technique's not very good. I've been trying to do everything consistently to shoot the crossbow, and yet I'm not getting very good groups at all. Would I recommend the crossbow? I don't know, to be quite honest. Some things I really like about it. I like the feel. It actually does feel as if it's reasonably well made. It went together well. There wasn't any movement when I put the bow on. Everything was reasonably good. I'm really disappointed with the scope rail. One thing I must say though is that certain retailers in the UK sell spare strings and cables for the bow very cheaply. I bought one which is just there. I think that cost me somewhere in the region of about £2.50, £3.50, something like that, which is a very, very cheap price when you see that some of the bigger manufacturers in the States are selling strings for, you know, £20, £30, which seems a little bit exorbitant to me, although I'm no expert. And one thing I will say is that the string seems to be holding out very well so far. I've been using string lube or string wax, and I've also been using lube on the rail itself. So, you know, the crossbow itself, I think, is reasonably well made. That just gives you a slight view of the forward sight. I personally am a little bit concerned about the accuracy. I'm not happy with the scope rail. This isn't the model I wanted. I actually wanted the Chace Star 225 pound recurve crossbow, but I couldn't get hold of it in the UK, so if any retailers are watching this video, I would most definitely have bought that crossbow, and I'm pretty sure looking at it that it won't have the same problem that this one's got. So on the whole, I've got mixed feelings about it. I really do like owning a crossbow. I've had quite a bit of fun with it, but accuracy is a problem, and I think it's down to the reason that I've explained earlier on in the video. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I hope it's been of some use to you. I'll maybe put another one out if I do actually regrind the scope rail and make it a little bit better, but I don't know what I'm going to do with that. I need to think about that. Anyway, thanks a lot and bye bye.